Let's go on to our very next session. This is Building Emotional Connections for Loyalty in a Digital-First World. I will have Julia Waldow, the reporter for Digiday, as your moderator. I will let her welcome her panel up. Would you come on up?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a really great panel today on the exciting topic of emotional loyalty. Would everybody like to just briefly introduce themselves, starting with Jeff?
Hi, Jeff Gerstel from B&H Photo.
Brian Schmidt, I'm the head of marketing and e-commerce for Brooks Brothers and Eddie Bauer at Part Catalyst Brands.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kevin McCarthy. I'm Vice President of Loyalty for Sonesta International Hotels.
Hello, I'm Hastu, Vice President of Sales and Solutioning at MoEngage for North America.
Amazing, thank you. So I want to get into the topic of emotional loyalty with you all. How do each of you define emotional loyalty versus transactional loyalty? And why is building emotional loyalty so critical in today's digital-first environment? And Jeff, maybe we can start with you and work our way this way.
It was either first or last, so. For us, I've been at B&H about 9 years, and my first month there, the owner, I asked him, like, why are we still here? And he said, well, if you treat people right, they'll come back. So it's very profound, and that's kind of our approach. So it's building trust one customer at a time with every touch point, every day, and we feel that's what builds loyalty, and emotional loyalty as well.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, my brands are 207 years old and 105 years old, and you don't get to be those numbers without having some amount of loyalty from customers. On the Brooks side, we've got a ton of like multi-generational stories, like my grandfather took me to get my first Brooks Brothers suit and like that sort of stuff, which all comes from the relationships that the brand has with the consumer directly, not through points, not through like couponing or anything along those lines, but the direct relationships that are built through the brand.
Awesome. Yeah, Kevin?
Great, yes. For those, hopefully people have heard of Sonesta Hotels. We're an 88-year-old company. We have 13 different brands. We're in 8 different countries, and we have 1,100 hotels across the United States that range from economy to what we call upper upscale. So we have certainly have a loyalty program that's very functional in nature. Transactional value, as I think of it and as we think of it, is really about points and discounts. I think in the retail space, it's free shipping. It's the things that are very rational. The emotional piece of it is super important, and that's really about creating a connection and making a connection with the customer and the member. And in the hotel space, it's certainly an intimate relationship. Somebody is choosing to sleep under your roof. So we work to create emotional engagement. Customers want to feel acknowledged. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel valued, and they want you to show that you know something about them. Thank you for coming back. Wouldn't happen at Sonesta, but I've been at places and they say, "Oh, is this your first time here?" No, it's my 4th time here. That doesn't create an emotional connection. It feels very transactional. So we look to leverage loyalty and CRM especially in order to kind of create those meaningful connections.
Great, thank you. And yeah, Hastu?
And being with MoEngage, we're a customer engagement platform helping brands like Kayak and Poshmark and others with their customer engagement and retention efforts. So we don't have a loyalty program, of course, but and I personally work with a lot of marketers to understand what challenges they're seeing and how they're seeing loyalty shape up. And I think in today's world, the product differentiation is just reducing day by day. It's more about the service. You can get the same product in 100 different places, or you could get close enough variations of the product from 100 different brands. So I think it's coming down more and more to convenience. It's coming down more and more to, can I relate to you as a brand? Can I trust you as a brand? And can I rely on you to deliver the experience that I expect or want or need in that moment? So I do think it's going away from points and just going a lot more to, can I rely on you? Are you relatable to me? And can I trust you?
Yeah, perfect. Well, yeah, thank you all. And, Brian and Kevin, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your loyalty programs that you have. How are you leveraging first-party data from these to better understand the, needs and preferences of your customers? And maybe Kevin, we'll start with you.
Sure. Obviously, loyalty programs are great vehicles for collecting information and collecting data on your customers. In the hotel space, when people book through an OTA, we don't get that information. So for us, getting people into loyalty is important because it helps reduce costs, and it also helps us to collect valuable first-party information. And so we're using it really in two big ways. One is obviously through marketing. And so we know, like in the past, why somebody has stayed with us, whether it's for business, whether it's for pleasure. We know the types of brands, we know the properties they stay at. So we know how many trips they take, on average, assuming they are repeat guests. So obviously we want people to come back. So we use this information to market to them and curate different messaging. Largely, our biggest channel is no surprise email. So we curate, again, messaging and show. We have trigger campaigns if we haven't seen somebody come back to remind them to come back. We also have redemption campaigns and recurring communications that serve up the types of hotels that somebody would want to stay at, and we curate that based on the number of points somebody has. So we try to use data. There are a few different ways, and then when somebody stays at our hotel on property, we have we do have a CRM platform, and we leverage the data that's in the platform to find out about them. So what do they like? There's the basics about room. Do you want to be on a high floor or something like that? But we also have other information. Our CRM platforms that allows us to know if somebody had a service issue in a prior Sonesta hotel, and we can make sure that that same thing doesn't happen. Whether somebody is on a redemption stay, in which case we want to make a big deal out of it and say, congratulations, you're enjoying your reward. So on property, other information that we might have had and gathered in our CRM platform, we do use that, again, to make it feel more personalized, and that's super important. The on-property experience is what really creates the emotional connection.
Awesome. Yeah, Brian, what about you?
Yeah, all those things. That all sounds great. I would say my brands are in two different places in their life cycle, and obviously they're very different brands, right? Brooks Brothers is a premium luxury type suit brand. We do a lot of shirting, a lot of wear to work. We're there for weddings, graduations, all the major life moments where people get dressed up. And a lot of that interaction takes place with a sales associate in our stores. Our stores are a huge part of our business. We're continuing to grow our store footprint, and we do clienteling out of our stores. And so the more information that we can provide to our sales associates, the better off they're going to be in those interactions, but also the more information they provide to us. And so our sales associates are an absolutely essential part of gathering that first-party data, and we're still very much figuring out how to productize it, leverage it all. I would love to say that we're amazing at personalization. We're not yet. Hopefully you guys are not all great at it, and I look dumb up here, but it's one of the things where one-to-one personalization is going to be so critical as a part of this. And so we're trying to get smarter every day about how do we make those best recommendations. I myself, if I walked out here, you may have noticed I'm 6'7". I'm in the big and tall class. I get emails from my own brands every day that are stuff I can't buy. I'm working on that. We're constantly working on fixing those things that connect you should know I've stayed here 4 times. You should know that I only buy big and tall. We're working on getting through those types of things where they're logical connections. We have a women's business. You don't need to receive 22 men's emails a week if you only buy in our women's business. So we're working through a lot of those types of developments to leverage that first party data to better connect to what we know about the customer. Because at the end of the day, that's so critical to our relationship with them throughout every touch point. But again, the stores are such a critical piece that we're trying to avail all of that information for clienteling, all of that information for when someone steps into the store and interacts with a sales associate.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, I want to, talk a little bit more about that data piece, diving into the data that you have, how you can use it. Hastu, I want to talk to you a little bit about AI, very buzzy topic. What, in your view, are some of the most impactful ways that brands are using AI and predictive analytics to create these emotionally resonant loyalty experiences? And can you share any trends or innovations you've seen?
Absolutely. We took 9 minutes to get to AI, so that's good. But no, I think when it comes to AI, what AI is already doing really well is helping you as a marketer predict who's about to churn, who's about to go dormant, because you're collecting so much first-party data on every interaction, every click, every email I open or interact with. And that's something that I'm seeing a lot of marketers finally embrace. Predicting churn and trying to get the user back before they've already left you as a brand or before they've completely stopped transacting with you delivers great results. What AI is also really good at doing right now is, should you be emailing me at 8 p.m. versus 2 a.m.? Probably 8 p.m., but there are users who prefer to get their emails at 2 a.m. That's what time they're scrolling and looking at products. So I do think AI is doing a really good job today of deciding what you should be sending to the users, making decisions on offers, making decisions on the coupons that you should be getting given what stage you are in the journey. It's doing a great job of deciding what channels, what time. And at the end of the day, it's doing a good job of trying to predict or think about what you might need. And to me, when I talk about loyalty or think about loyalty, I'm most loyal to the brands that add convenience to my life, that are trying to position a product or a solution that I actually need or am about to need, rather than just trying to sell me something because that's the new product we have out and I'm 35-year-old living in Brooklyn, and therefore I must want everything that all other 35-year-olds look for. And AI is a great vehicle today to break away from that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I know we've been talking about data, about using loyalty programs. Jeff, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you all do at B&H Photo. You all don't have a formal loyalty program, but you've cultivated a really dedicated customer base. How have you gone about doing that?
So we take an approach that every customer is a super diamond platinum executive member. And we treat everyone the same, whether it's the first time they ever bought something or it's their 100th order. And so the focus for us is really, how do we look at every touch point and make it better? So for example, last month, we shipped 99.8% of our orders on time or early, which sounds good, except that meant about 1,000 people we screwed. So their order got late. So our focus isn't on the 99.8, it's on the 0.2. And say, how do we make that better? What happened? Why did we fail? And constantly, obsessively driving to make that better. And we think that the best thing we can do in terms of building loyalty is treat every customer like gold, fulfill our promises, and when we don't, when we screw up, be very open, communicate it, apologize, don't ignore it, and make it better. And that seems to work.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it seems like the honesty and the transparency really goes a long way there.
I guess it's enough cliches about honesty that maybe they're right. But again, it's hard, and I think a lot of times, percentages can almost be an enemy, because 99.8, wow, that's pretty good. But when you fall into that trap, it forgets the fact that if you're part of that 0.2, it's not so good. So it's just like, what's the expectation you set? And again, for a long time, we've kind of felt if we meet our promises, if we exceed what we tell people we're going to do, that's the best thing we can do to develop a loyal customer base.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, on that point of looking at people, not as numbers but as actual people. Kevin, I want to talk to you a little bit about the hospitality experience. You mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the experience side of hospitality is everything. So how has the MasterCard that you all have at Sonesta and the program that you have on the loyalty front evolved over the years to be able to deliver these more personalized and emotionally engaging experiences?
Yeah, sure. We do have a credit card. It's a relatively small portfolio, so it hasn't played as big of a role, although sort of from a functional transactional value, like a lot of credit cards in the travel space, you can get a big bonus when you sign up. And so that's been the hook to at least to bring people in, and obviously it's super users and kind of our biggest fans that are going to get that, and then the magic is in getting them to continue to use that and delivering profits from that. I think that other things we've done is kind of we've launched our credit card we've launched our loyalty program 2 years ago, and it's a very strong, solid, functional program, and it delivers very strong value. And we get a lot of kudos from the bloggers saying we're, one of the top valued programs. Experientially, I'd say it's really been all about linking it with our CRM platform. So we stood up a CRM platform in 2025. And there's a lot to standing up a platform. You don't just stand it up, as we were talking about, and everybody starts like, hey, everything is in there, and you start using it. So it's a big change management piece, and getting people to collect data and then act upon it. So those are, kind of what we've been doing. It's really leaning into CRM to do the things that I talked about earlier in terms of acknowledgement and showing that you know something about somebody. So we've been very focused on that. We also we have a partnership with Rolling Stone that we love. We're very excited about. This is our second year, and we put on bespoke performances at our hotels. We'll do half a dozen this year, and we invite 35, 40, 50 Travel Pass members to that, and it's a very intimate experience. It's two artists on stage, one of whom is more well known than the other, and they have an intimate conversation. And then they both put on a performance, and it's very cool. And we, people get swag bags and all of that good stuff. So we do that to create.
Do we get to be invited to that?
What's that?
That sounds great.
Get an invite over here. Is my phone
We'll
on?
talk. Okay. They can do some value exchange. But yeah, so it absolutely creates an emotional connection, and we're able to interact with our customers, and we do make it available to everybody. So it's not just for platinum members, or but it's really a great experience. So we're leaning more into experiences. That's one big one that we have, and we're working on several others to try to have a more intimate relationship and make these things available to as many people as possible. You still only are able to touch a small number of members, but making it available to everybody, almost first come, first serve, is helpful. So there are some of the things that we're doing at Sonesta.
That's great. I want an invite too, by the way.
Happy to talk.
Yeah, I know. So that's really interesting. Like the experiential aspect of that. Obviously that's in person. I want to talk to you, Brian, a little bit about the nature of omni-channel loyalty. Because nowadays shoppers are, they're buying online, on their desktop, they're buying on an app, they're buying in person. So this concept of emotional loyalty, how do you at Brooks Brothers and Eddie Bauer make sure that you're staying consistent with that across different channels?
It's an interesting question. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, our stores are a big part of our business on both brands. I would be lying if I didn't say the bulk of our loyalty programs were transactional, and that we're always working towards the emotional elements of it. I think when we look at the program, we're sort of constantly evaluating, hey, what works in this, what doesn't work, and what works to drive store traffic, what works to get people connected to their sales associates, keep them connected to their local stores. And we've come to a lot of events leveraging our store footprint. So last year, we had Jalen Brunson as a brand ambassador during the Father's Day time period. We did a couple of different events throughout our New York stores where we invited our loyalty members in to meet him. Those were also amazing shopping events for us. We've had some really great moments where we can, loyalty program members that live within a general area, bringing them into that omni environment. And I think similarly, we've seen we can have our sales associates call on new e-commerce customers that are in the general area of their store and be like, hey, if you ever need anything, come in. You just got a suit, you might need it tailored, feel free to drop on in. We can help you with whatever you need for whatever occasion. And I would say also on the web, we're really good at selling sizes where people know what size they are. Suits are very hard to buy online. And we're constantly sort of trying to figure out how to make that process easier. But at the end of the day, most people are not going to know the exact fit, or the exact fit off the rack is not going to fit them. And so that's one where we are constantly trying to strike this balance of creating, pushing our customers to what the better experience is going to be. And that allows us to have better experiences, create more loyalty and better connections with them, because then our sales associates have a conversation. They know that you're getting a suit for your wedding. They can then follow up after that wedding date and say, hey, how'd it go? hope everything was great. They can do the follow-ons for those major moments that people come to Brooks Brothers for. And so, yeah, really having that omni environment allows us to have those great customer experiences, allows us to elevate with that customer. So like as we think through omni, web is a big and growing business. It's always going to be for us. But again, we continue to expand our storefront and really figure out how we can work those two together, because ultimately our best customers, as with most businesses that have a physical presence, if they're shopping online and in store, they're your best customer. And so we're constantly trying to push people towards that store experience, which is a better experience overall because of those integrations, and just create better customers.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, obviously, as you all have talked about, loyalty for everybody looks a little bit different, based on your purchasing history, based on what you're looking to get out of a brand or a shopping experience. I want to open this all up to, all of you, and maybe Hastu will start with this end first. But what do you see one of the biggest challenges being in, creating an emotionally connected loyalty program, and what tips do you have for kind of overcoming that?
Yeah, I think most large enterprises, organizations today have a lot of data. Anyone that has any digital presence has a lot of data. And most organizations today also have a data science team. I think the biggest challenge that I end up seeing is bringing access to that data, bringing access to that intelligence in the hands of the marketers, reducing the effort, reducing the friction that marketers have to look at the data, look at their user sets, start deploying more AI on their own without having to rely on another team that only slows the process down. Especially with AI, we're talking a lot about efficiencies. We're talking a lot about being able to deliver those one-to-one experiences and at scale. But how do you do that when it takes a week to get the data science team to give you the results and the analysis that you need to deliver the experience that the customer should have had a week ago? So to me, it's just reducing the silos, or just breaking down the silos between different functions, between the marketing, the data, and the technology organizations, and bringing data into the hands of the marketers to be actionable faster, and being able to test at a much more improved speed.
Yeah, great. That's a good point. Yeah, Kevin?
Yeah, I think certainly in the hotel space, I've talked a lot about a CRM program. I think loyalty and CRM are just so intertwined, and the CRM platform is really the backbone and needs to help deliver your loyalty program and deliver the. Like I said, we stood ours up in Q3 of last year, working on it. It's change management. It's getting people to stop using this platform that they're using when they're checking people in, to using this plus this, or integrating them fully, which is what we're doing. It's getting them to collect information about guests, because we do know what they do based on their actions, but it's also to develop that really deep connection. It's understanding, why are you here? And finding out somebody's a runner, and then the next time they come, putting a running map in their room or something like that, and a jar of Gatorade. And they're like, wow, this person really knows me. So I think it's just really bringing to life the CRM program. So it's both collecting data and information, and then it's also getting your frontline associates to act upon it, and really getting them to care. I think in hospitality, we certainly have a little bit of an edge, because people are there because they like doing that. They should anyway, because they're in hospitality. Otherwise, it doesn't really work well. But some are better at it than others. So it's really helping them understand why this is important. And we also, we have both carrots and, I don't want to say sticks, but since we have a new program, we look at a front desk associate level. Are they using the system? Are they putting information in? Are they literally, are they clicking on it? So we can say, hey, this person isn't using it at all. That's a problem. So I think this is a multi-year thing to really stand it up and make it super powerful. So I think those are kind of just the challenges and the growing pains, but it certainly keeps me and a lot of other people at Sonesta busy all day long.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm not a runner, but if I was, I would love a running map. That sounds great. Yeah, Brian, what about you?
For me, it's bridging the gap between my capital L loyalty program, that's my points-based program, and how we capture and support all the customers where that program doesn't fit for them. So if you think about, hey, a points-based program really needs to be based in some amount of frequency. Well, if you're coming in and buying suits from Brooks Brothers, you may be a super loyal customer that we see every 3 years. So what's the point of points? You know, we have customers that have our credit card that buy with points and are shopping with us once a month, twice a month across the course of 4 years. So we do have people that really very much love that program. You know, at the same time, you know, we sometimes refer to ourselves as the gap for rich people. Well, rich people don't tend to love points programs or need them or leverage them. So how do we, you know, find those moments where we can capture information, really engage with the customer, where that core, again, like I said, capital L loyalty program, how that doesn't necessarily cover the gaps for them. So, you know, one of the things that we're actually launching in a couple weeks is a like hidden fourth tier of our loyalty program that's sort of like a private members only club. We know that rich customer loves experiences. They love, you know, exclusive access. That's what matters to them. And so finding those things that matter more than just the points or more than that transactional value. And we have a lot of customers that love that transactional value, but finding those other things to reward really those best customers in so many ways is the thing that keeps me up at night, but is also the really fun challenge, and working through those pieces.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you for the tip about the new tier that's coming out. That's exciting.
You got to spend a lot. Don't get too excited.
Yeah, Jeff, what about you?
I'm looking forward to like the secret codes at the end of the presentation.
Yeah.
For us, again, I think the challenge is getting everyone in the organization to think about every single customer, and that we'll pretty much do anything to make a customer happy, but we need to know about it. So not too long ago, we got a call from Canon, which is one of the big camera manufacturers. A customer had called them looking for a new camera with the same serial number that his father's camera had 20 years ago. I'm like, okay. And they had sold that camera to us, so they wanted us to find the camera. So I'm like, okay, why not? It's like, you know, we call the warehouse and say, I know you have 400 of these, but we need you to find serial number blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what, are you nuts? And then they call back later, 2 minutes later, give us an hour. And so just stuff like that and they found it. So get the whole organization just aligned about every customer matters. How do you create these special experiences that they'll remember and want to come back for? And I think there's a lot of similarity. And you know, the bigger you get, the more challenging it becomes. And so the problem with challenge is like, don't forget what got you here, you know, just because you're bigger. Yeah, it's no big deal. Look through 400 boxes and find it's easy for me to say I didn't do it, probably in 100-degree heat, but whatever. So it's that every customer focus, they all matter. And if you can do something special, they'll come back.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and we've talked a lot about, you know, looking at, you know, customer habits, their history, you know, kind of looking more at what they've already given you. But, you know, speaking to this last question about going forward, I wanted to ask you all, you know, 3 to 5 years in the future, what do you think that customers will want out of a loyalty program or, you know, a branded credit card that they don't have today? And, you know, maybe Jeff will work with you again and then reverse this.
I'm first?
You're first.
Okay, this morning I took a ride from a popular ride-sharing company. And, you know, I put in where I'm going. It said the car will be there in 2 minutes. I'm like, yeah, right, it's never on time. We'll be here in 5. Then like 30 seconds later, your driver will be here in 1 minute. So I was like so shocked they actually did what they said they would do, which never happens, right? So I think whether it's today, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, people want to engage with brands that are going to exceed their expectations, not treat them like shit. And sorry, like
You weren't
bad.
about to say that.
Sorry, Alan.
It's
You know
not an
what?
8-second delay, don't worry.
What's going to make it special, and who's going to value you, and who's going to want your business, who's going to go the extra mile, and not. I think we've gotten so dumbed down as consumers, probably over the last 1,000 years. At some point, you know, stand out by being different.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Brian, what about you?
I mean, I think that doing what you're saying you're going to do is a really good one, for sure.
Revolutionary.
Revolutionary, absolutely. I think that probably one of the core things for me is just like, you know so much information about me, or I perceive that you know so much information about me, you better be leveraging that information. And it's going to get harder and harder as privacy takes over that, and so the consumer is asking for two things that are diametrically opposed. But being able to stitch that data together and also then surface it in all of those different interactions that you have with the customer, I think is just going to be critical to having the customer feel like you know them. And it's going to have to be online, it's going to have to be in email and SMS, it's going to have to be in the phone call from our sales associates, it's going to have to be when they step into the store. It's going to have to be in the offers that they receive, it's going to have to be in those experiences that they get invited to, it's going to have to be in all of those things that it comes together. So.
Yeah, perfect. Like, yeah, I'm giving you my data, what are you giving me in return? Yeah. Kevin, what about you?
So I agree with both of those things. I also think that just there's going to be an expectation that things are seamless and frictionless. Certainly on the loyalty space, redeeming, enrolling, like it has to be easy. Enrolling in promotions, putting your credit card in your wallet, doing that automatically. I think more and more integration and seamlessness is what's going to be expected, and more variety in payments, like the continued buy now, pay later. So just lots of options on how people can pay, and even debit card. At least in the hospitality space, one of our competitors launched a debit card, and I've always been kind of in the credit space because it makes so much money for companies. So, I think that's interesting, and I think particularly though with younger generations, they don't necessarily want credit cards. Things being seamless in the payment space and just how people engage with loyalty programs.
Perfect. Yeah, and Hastu, do you want to close this out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously agree with all of that, so not too much to add on top of that. But I do think at the end of the day, the lines between the digital and the physical worlds are blurring. And Brian, I think you said it best. I want to go where I have the best experience. But I also want to make sure that when I'm in a store, you still know me. You still know everything about me that I've shared with you on my mobile app or the website or the years of online shopping that I've done. So I think the expectation's just shifting to, I really don't care where I'm experiencing your brand, it's still your brand, and I expect the same experience every single time, and I expect you to really know me and deliver with that one-to-one personalization. And the reason I go to Chick-fil-A is because lovely people. I feel great about going in, talking to a person, and coming out. And I think our digital surfaces just have to be those really nice people that are helping you out. And I think that's the expectation I'm seeing more and more from customers and myself, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, we have 3 tips for you all. Basically, no loyalty program can compensate for poor product or service. You need to differentiate through experience, and you need to know your customers deeply. So, thank you all so much for speaking, and thank you all for listening.